Welcome, Castleberry. It is now time to have a casual conversation for the beneficial good of our community. The show you are about to listen to is called What's Up, Castleberry? And now it is my absolute pleasure to introduce to you your hosts, Andy and Drew, along with producer Robin.
Andy and Drew here. It's episode number 70. Can you believe it? 70 of the What's Up Castleberry podcast. Andy and I are Castleberry residents, local pastors, dear friends who love to have conversations with all kinds of guests and folks from around our community for the good of the people of Castleberry, Florida, about Castleberry related issues. And Andy, it is a week of celebrations. School is out. Graduations are underway.
Yes.
Somebody had a birthday this week. Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yes, as we are recording, it is my birthday. And as we are recording, and as you offer that congratulations, I realize I've had a lot of birthdays. And, I think they're more exciting the younger you are. But, having a good day, hanging out with family, having some fun. And, of course, spending some time recording Castleberry's most famous and most inspiring podcast. And I can think of nothing else that I would rather do.
That's right. Well, as we celebrate a milestone anniversary podcast, number 70, we are glad to celebrate this day with you. And listeners, we are thrilled to share what has quickly become the most talked about, exciting, optimistic, corny segment of our show.
Question: how is optimistic? How are your jokes optimistic? Can you just explain that for me?
Yeah, I would. Number one, because everything's about me, I look forward to this. So I'm optimistically looking
there you go. So if you're in a good mood, you put me in a good mood, and then we put everybody in a good mood.
It just passes along. And then, and then probably the other thing is I'm imagining producer Robin is not on the program today. She will be editing this though. And Robin, I know you are, wherever you are, you're smiling and you're laughing at our inevitable corny jokes that are ahead. And Andy, I think we've got a twofer, right? I've got one, you've got one.
Well,
you're the birthday boy. Do you want to start off?
No. I'll let you go first, and then I can clean up your joke.
Then you'll do a better one. Okay, good deal. I set myself up for that. All right, here we go, folks. Would you stop looking for the perfect match, friends? Stop looking for the perfect match. Just use a lighter.
See, Robin, we miss you. There's no one to laugh at the joke now, and it's just gone quiet. We've got some dead air because you're not here. Here's mine to save the dad joke section. All right. Did you know that there is a way to tell the gender of an ant? Did you know that?
No. How do you tell the gender of an ant?
Well, Drew, as you asked, if you drop it in water and it sinks, it's a girl. It's a girl ant. But if it floats, it's boy ant.
Boy ant. All right. That was good. Very nice. Folks, we hope you have enjoyed our dad jokes of the week. There you go. A special twofer on that. Well, folks, this is not a joke. This is truly a reason to celebrate. We're in a celebratory mood here on the podcast. And I have to tell you that for well over a year, coming up on maybe 15 or so months ago, we had our last big city event at Lake Concord Park. If you are new or a newer resident of Castleberry, or perhaps you've been a resident for a long time, you know that or maybe you don't know that we have city events put on by our great city of Castleberry all around the city. But one of our favorite places is right downtown at Lake Concord Park. They're off 1792 near City Hall and the police station. And at the park, there is monthly live music. There's food trucks. There's the opportunity for really the city, our community, to come together and spend time together. And of course, because of COVID, we have not been able to gather together publicly, but that all is changing. That's right. That this Saturday, which by the time I realize that will go live, it will have already passed.
This is great. We got Castleberry in the news that happened a few days ago.
We're going to celebrate. We're going to assume that by osmosis that you know about this event, that you're there. You got to go to the city's website, castleberry.org. Lynn Hoppus, a previous podcast guest and a man who oversees the events of the city, he and his team are putting on the Rock and Blues concert and car show. That's Saturday, May 29th, 4 to 8 o'clock. Man, Andy, by the time listeners hear this, it will have already happened. I'm just going to go ahead and say that was amazing. It was so fun. Everybody had a great time. The weather held up. People ate. They enjoyed the cars, classic cars, and some good music led by the band, the Apocalypse Blues Revival. Andy, what do you enjoy about those city events at Lake Concord Park?
Well, I'm so thrilled that they're happening again and they're coming back. And, even though our journalistic skills aren't too good, that we are inviting people to events that have already happened. This will have been a milestone one because it's the first one back. I've been speaking with the chief of police. He had a car in the event, and our mayor, Dave Henson. He also had a car in the car show, and they're expecting several hundred, perhaps a couple of thousand folks to come. Maybe next week we can report on what it was actually like.
In case you don't know what Andy is referring to, if you're a newer listener, he's saying the word car, C-A-R. Sorry, couldn't help myself. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say now, because it's so hard to talk about something that's happened that hasn't happened yet and inviting people to.
We're in the Matrix right now.
We are in the Matrix. But either way, bottom line, it's good that we're doing things together again.
Absolutely. That's right. It actually makes me think of one of our previous episodes and a gentleman who's contributed to our podcast, Drew Acosta, talking about the different ideas for events. And man, the fact that we're back together in person makes me think, what events are coming up next? I mean, the sky's the limit. Literally, people are so hungry and excited to be back in person. Maybe we'll have karaoke, maybe everybody will take a jump, splash into Lake Concord Pond. I don't know. Well, let's see. We're thankful, City of Castleberry. Well done on getting us back together to be able to be in person for a city event. Well, folks, speaking of those who love our community and who are very much involved in our community, we are proud of today's sponsor, Ascension Lutheran Church.
Ascension Lutheran is located in the heart of Castleberry. For over 60 years, Ascension has been connecting disconnected people to the joyful community of the caring Christ. We have various Bible studies and outreach events throughout the week, and we offer both traditional, liturgical, and contemporary worship styles on Sunday mornings. For more information, please visit www.ascensionlcms.org.
We are now at the point in our conversation that we have a special guest with us today. Andy and I are so excited to speak with this gentleman. His name is Marc Stanakis, and Marc is the president of Jobs Partnership. Welcome to the podcast, Marc.
Thanks. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you guys.
Absolutely. Well, Marc, you've got a big smile on your face, and I think that's partly, maybe not much to do with talking to Andy and I, but a lot is going on in your personal life. Your son just graduated from the Masters Academy. Your daughter just graduated from the University of Florida. I saw on your social media page, go Gators. Man, a lot of emotions, a lot going on. Tell us a little bit about the last couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, thanks, Drew. I mean, it's been kind of a wild ride to have two graduates in the same year. It's been exciting, though, and we're just thrilled that in both cases they got to walk across the stage and get that diploma, and we got to take pictures, and that was a good thing because I was concerned that we wouldn't get to kind of capture that special moment. So it was really neat to be able to do that, and then just kind of embracing the reality that, I mean, I have two kids that are graduating and things are about to change for my wife and I, and we're like, are we ready for this? But yeah, it's really exciting. My daughter she's looking for a job in Charlotte or Nashville. She's an interior architecture and design major, and so she's interviewing with these big architecture firms, and so things are starting to happen there, and we're looking forward to seeing where that takes her. I'm just excited for her that she just wants to venture out. She said, I'm not coming back to Orlando. I want to kind of spread my wings and head out. So I'm excited for her for that. And my son is going up to Berry College to play basketball, which is a lifelong dream for him. So yeah, I'm really proud of both of them, and just excited for kind of where they're at in terms of their education. And then spiritually as well, they're just doing great. And I'm really excited for that. So we're all is good. Pray for Julie and I as we try to figure out what empty nesting looks like.
Marc, I'm just a few years behind you, but I feel that coming very quickly in our family's life as well. And, I keep saying we raise them to launch them. We raise them to launch them. But as launch gets closer, it gets a little bit harder to say goodbye. So I understand some of those emotions. Yeah,
and I think it's just now hitting me. I mean, it's just starting to, the reality is hitting me. And so I'm trying to think through that. So it's a good time, but it's also kind of a lot of change happening.
Yeah. So Marc, tell us a little bit about your story. How did you end up in Central Florida? What do you like about living in Central Florida? Why do you still call Seminole County home?
So I've got quite an interesting journey. I was born in Paris, France. My parents were married there, and my dad was in the military and the Navy. And we went from Paris, France to Sanford, Florida for 3 years. And then from there, we went to Norfolk, Virginia.
That is the road less traveled, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm not sure there's many flights from Paris to Sanford, but even back then especially. But Paris, Sanford, Norfolk, Virginia, Naples, Italy for 4 years, Newport, Rhode Island. And then my dad retired from the Navy. He was 22 years in the Navy and loved Central Florida. And we came back here in 1972. So this is really home for me, Central Florida. We've been here. This is the longest place I've ever lived anywhere. And so I call it home and love it. I mean, I've just kind of had a chance to see it grow and develop and prosper over these years. And it's a great place to live. And just like the community, I feel like we live in a community that really does want to try to work together, especially we have a strong Christian community. I love that. And I love seeing how the body of Christ is working together here in Central Florida to really have an impact in the lives of those around it.
It really is, Marc. That's such a cool story, interesting story that you shared. And, it reminds me a lot that as we think about Central Florida and specifically Orlando, we go back in history a little bit, back to the 50s, 60s, 70s. This was a very small community at one point in time. It was not what we see necessarily nowadays, but of course, over time, people moved in and jobs were a big part of that, right? The draw to get people here and employed and enjoying the beautiful sunny weather of Florida. Marc, tell us a little bit about your passion just for kind of work in general and working with folks in regards to the organization that you helped found, Jobs Partnership. What's kind of the story there?
If you spend any time in the first 3 chapters of Genesis, you can't help but know that we were made to work. And it's foundational, I should say, for all of us to work and to kind of bear the image of God in creating things and doing things that bring some order out of chaos. And that to me is a big motivation. And also knowing that there's a lot of people in our community that haven't been able to work or have been kind of denied opportunities to really prosper and flourish in work. And so that's a big part of what we do at Jobs Partnership. But I think probably the real question you're asking is what's kind of driving me in this work that we've been doing for 22 years. I came to Christ later in life. I was 32 years old. And as I got connected to the church, I really, struggled because so many people I knew were not connected to the church and didn't want to be connected to the church. And that bothered me, like I want to be connected and I want you to be connected. And so for me, a lot of this has to do with really kind of seeing the church get reconnected out here in the public square in a way that is meaningful and relevant. I feel like there's a lot of folks in our community who are lost and broken and don't know how valuable the church can be in restoring them. But they've got to know that it's a safe place to go. And so this has been a big part of my thinking around Jobs Partnership and how we can kind of really help people to see that the church is really a critical element of our community and needed for a community to prosper and flourish. If you look back into the 1800s, prior to the Depression, the church was the primary place that people went to in time of need. They were the purveyors of services and resources to help people in need. And then when the Depression hit, no one had any money except the federal government. I mean, let's kind of break it down. And so here you have the federal government now stepping in to fill that role of providing help and services and resources to people in a time of need. We had millions of people out of work, and the only one that could help them was the federal government. And what was meant to be a temporary solution turned into a permanent solution, and what we now know is the entitlement programs that we have in our country today. And that's created an unhealthy dependency. But more importantly, I think it kind of removed the church from its rightful place in the public square to be a part of helping people in time of need. And so I want to restore that. I want to reconnect the church to its rightful place in our community. And I think that's when the broader community would see, wow, that's what the church is supposed to be doing.
Yeah, we are living out some of that in Castleberry in our shared relationships as churches here. And it's beautiful to see because of the real needs that it's meeting. When it comes to jobs, I recently heard from an organization within the city who held a job fair, and they have done for many, many years. And they said that they had more employers than ever before and fewer people looking for work than ever before. Now, that's just an anecdote, a story. But what are some of the stats and data about what's actually happening in Seminole County when it comes to issues of employment?
We're hearing the same thing. We're getting calls from employers. We're meeting with employers who are desperately trying to fill open positions. I met with one of the big hospital chains here this week. They have 3,800 job openings.
Wow.
And they can't fill them. 3,800. It's a huge number. Met with a manufacturing facility in Sanford. We're getting ready to launch our classes in Seminole County, and they're partnering with us. They have about 850 workers. He needs 150 people today.
Wow.
Just to keep up with the business, but he can't find it.
Wow.
So we have a huge worker shortage. I think there's several reasons for that shortage from what we're seeing. One, kind of the narrative you're hearing a lot of, and employers believe it's true. All of the subsidies and kind of pandemic support that's been given to low-income families, they're making more money receiving some of those subsidies. And so there's not a motivation or incentive to go to work. There was a recent article in the Wall Street Journal that showed that those subsidies could mean as much as anywhere from $17 to $24 an hour.
Wow.
For someone who is receiving all of the subsidies. That's a big number. It's more than most people are making in our community. And I'll just share statistically, about 60% of the jobs that are created here in Central Florida are what we call low-wage jobs. So they're under $15 an hour. Many are more in the $8, $9, $10 an hour range. And so 17 versus 10, do the math. And so I think that's a real issue. And it's also, what's an issue is the fact that folks in lower wage jobs, it's all about survival. They're just trying to they're just trying to do whatever it takes to survive. And so it's all about right now. They're not thinking about 6 months ahead or a year from now. It's like right now, what do I got to do to take care of my family? And right now, $17 is a lot better than 10. And so I think that's a reality that is really, it's a factor in all this. And then the other factor is there is a skills gap in our workforce, and it takes two forms. There's a technical skills gap, where employers require certain specific skills, usually that require a certification, and they're just not finding enough people to do that. There's also a soft skills gap, and that's probably the biggest challenge that most employers are faced with. Soft skills, how you think and act on the job, healthy relationships with your boss and your coworker, resolving conflict, communication skills. These are skills that every employer just expects people to show up with. It's a growing problem in the emerging workforce, and it's causing a lot of problems for employers in terms of recruiting.
Mark, you and I talked off air previously at a breakfast, and we were talking about that soft skills and how Jobs Partnership kind of fills some of that void in teaching some of those skills. Could you give us maybe an example or two tangibly about what Jobs Partnership does and how you kind of help fill in some of those gaps that are maybe created due to just lack of experience or education?
According to the United Way of Florida, and they do a lot of research into the economic well-being of Floridians, about half of the people that go to work every day don't make enough money to pay the bills. Okay, half, 50%. In Orange County, it's 220,000 families.
Wow.
Don't make enough money to pay the bills. And we could refer to that population as what we would call the contingent workforce. These are people in low-wage jobs and usually part-time jobs. And so they're working in multiple part-time jobs, trying to string together enough income to pay the bills. And what they really need is a higher wage job that's full-time with benefits. That, studies show, is how people can gain economic mobility and financial stability. And so, but the folks in those low-wage jobs don't know how to get there. And so that's the barrier. Why can't they get there when we know we've discovered there's two reasons why they can't get there. Number one, because of their situation, coming from low economic backgrounds or surroundings, the way they think about life and the world and the way it works is very tainted. They have a negative view of the world and a lot of times just believe that this is their station in life and it can't get any better. And so those negative attitudes and beliefs kind of shape how they see the world, but also how they act or respond. And a lot of it is just to do what they know how to do. And that means working in lower wage jobs, maybe in retail or restaurants, food service, and string them together to try to make it work. The other factor in all this too, why people don't move from that into something better, is they don't know anyone that can help them do that. Everyone they know is broke and in the same situation they're in. And so it's a lack of what we call social capital. They don't have a network of helpful relationships to help them move from here to here. And so those are the two big ideas behind our LifeWorks program at Jobs Partnership. We're focusing on those negative attitudes and beliefs, and a lot of it has to do with the way they see work. And so we teach that content from a biblical perspective. What does the Bible say about how to be a good worker, how to have healthy relationships, how to get along with your boss and your coworkers, how to resolve conflict, and how do you communicate effectively? How do you steward your time and resources on the job? Those pencils in the supply room are not yours for your kid's backpack, those kinds of things. And so really, from a biblical perspective, trying to change those attitudes and beliefs, which are really attitudes of the heart. And so bringing in local pastors who break that down for them in the context of work. But in the process, it starts building their confidence and self-esteem and understanding what the Bible says about work. Like, you were made to work. That God made you with unique gifts and talents and abilities that are designed for you to put to work. And that's your contribution in kind of creating culture. That's a fundamental aspect of what we do and how we change some of that thinking and really starts to help them move forward. But the other big thing that we do too as part of the program is we're connecting them to our network of partners. So businesses that want to hire them, you want to go back to school and get some training and certification, as I mentioned earlier, we can get that paid for. You can go to Valencia, Orange Technical College, and we'll give you a scholarship to pay for that, and so you can get that credential and then move into that full-time job. So we're leveraging our network of relationships for their benefit.
I love that. That's great. There are so many gaps in the system, as you so eloquently described. And it kind of feels to me, as I'm hearing about your process, Marc, that you're just kind of sticking your finger in the holes all along the process and stopping that leakage and kind of joining the dots where people can move from either unemployment or underemployment or some kind of patched together jobs to a career that can people build the kind of life that they would like.
Marc, clearly that this is your passion. Andy and I are also very much in the business and the interest of people. You know, as a leader, both with Jobs Partnership, but also just a man in and amongst the community that you speak about. What would you say is a piece of kind of leadership advice, something that you would pass on to another in terms of how you are compelled to engage with the people around you?
You know, I think I've heard a lot about leadership in the church, and I think there's a lot of misconceptions about what that means. But I think the real issue is servant leadership. And it's very different. I mean, I think we've lost the art of serving other people. We're living in a world that cares about me. It's all about me and what I can do and get from this world. And I mean, I think we've lost this idea of serving other people and caring about other people. And I think that's probably for me that's the answer to your question. I think we've got to return to this notion that we're here to serve others, right? That's what it's all about. And I think what a lot of people love about what we're doing is that we've kind of got this framework that allows them to do that. That's why we've created what we've created is kind of a framework for the local church to kind of serve people in need. It's a very structured way to do that and a safe way to do that, quite honestly. And so I think that's what's needed is a return to serving others and loving others just the way we've been first loved.
Thank you, Marc. That's very true. Sadly, we are running out of time, but I have the feeling there's much, much more that we could talk about. As we wrap up, there may be some folks listening who are looking for a job. There may be some folks listening who have felt that you were describing them as you talked about them kind of struggling to make ends meet. There may be some folks listening who are saying, hey, I've got some time. I want to give. I want to serve. So final question, how can people connect with you and Jobs Partnership?
Well, several ways. Obviously they can go to our website, jobspartnership.org. There they can look into our LifeWorks program and the volunteer opportunities are listed there, and they can apply online either to volunteer or to enroll in the program to receive the help that we offer and getting them upskilled so they can find and keep a better job. So yeah, that would be one way. If there's any churches or pastors listening, I'd love to sit down and talk with you because we've got this model, this ministry framework that we want to give you, and we'll help you. We'll support you in implementing it in your community so that you can serve those who are struggling to make ends meet. It's a great way to disciple your congregation in serving other people.
That's very important. Marc, thank you so much for joining us today. Friends who are listening, I hope you'll go to jobspartnership.org and find out more about the incredible work that Marc and his team do at Jobs Partnership. Thank you, Marc.
All right. Thank you so much, Marc Stanakis and Jobs Partnership for the good work that you're doing in and around Central Florida. And we are excited, as Marc mentioned at the end of our time, about the future involvement here in Seminole County. Andy, there was much to be inspired by from those who do the good work of caring for those in our community. Andy, would you close our episode out with an inspirational moment?
You bet. And Drew, you may not have known this as we found this inspirational moment, but this quote comes from Lou Holtz, who actually lives, I believe, in Seminole County.
Not know that.
Yeah, he was a coach. He's a broadcaster. And he says this: your talent determines what you can do. Your motivation determines how much you're willing to do. And your attitude determines how well you do it. I love that so much because so often when we put our mind to a task, we just think, oh, I'll go do it. But there's a whole lot more to that. And there's a whole lot more involved, especially if we want to do it well. So as listener, as you hear this quote again, let these words sit with you as you strive to grow and develop and add excellence to everything you do. Your talent determines what you can do. Your motivation determines how much you're willing to do. And your attitude determines how well you'll do it. And those words are from Seminole County resident Coach Lou Holtz.
I love it. Thank you, Andy. And if you have ever seen Lou Holtz, he is a short little guy. And I could just picture in his voice giving kind of a pump fist and saying, it's not about your talent, it's your motivation and your attitude. So listener, be motivated and have a great attitude as you go out into the week. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of the What's Up Castleberry podcast, a casual conversation for the good of our community. This podcast has been produced by our lovely producer, Robin Kepi. For more information, please check out our website, Facebook page, Instagram, or podcast feed, all with the name What's Up Castleberry. Like and subscribe to our podcast. Please rate and review us. And until next time, have a great week. And as always, Robin is Beyonce.